I am ready to rock.
Here we go.
All right.
Good morning, Acadiana. Thank you for tuning in to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with The Advocate, our local journalists. And we are so glad you joined us this morning on Cypress Street Radio and on AOC Community Media's YouTube. We are preempted this morning on the TV station because the mayor is hosting his town hall. If you want to tune into that on the TV station, we understand, and we will be replaying this episode later today so you can catch up on the news in audio format. And we are so fortunate this morning to be joined by Danon. Danon, good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
Thanks so much for being with us to read the news this morning, and I'm going to let you take it away, and I'm going to go listen on Cypress Street as I normally do.
Okay, thank you so much, Matt. Good morning, everyone. It is May 27th, 2020. I am Danon, and welcome. So let's get right in. Excuse me. Plans move forward for early voting site. This is by Megan Wyatt. Local leaders have approved funding for a new early voting site in Lafayette Parish that's expected to be up and running in time for the presidential election this fall. Voter advocates are raising concerns about the proposed voting site at the Lafayette Parish Library's East Branch on La Nouvelle Road. Excuse me. Although the site would be open to all registered voters in the parish, the library is not easily accessible by public transit and is located in a less diverse, more affluent portion of Lafayette Parish. This matter needs to be adequately dealt with now, said Kathleen Espinoza of the League of Women Voters of Lafayette. Every voter in Lafayette Parish deserves a safe, accessible opportunity to early vote. Elected officials in Youngsville and Broussard have been working with the Lafayette Parish Council, Lafayette Parish Registrar of Voters, and the Louisiana Secretary of State's office to create the new voting site. It's been kind of a chore to get all those agencies looking in the same direction to make this a reality. Broussard Mayor Ray Bork said Tuesday afternoon, "I think that's why it's never worked before for Lafayette Parish." The Broussard City Council unanimously approved a resolution during its regular meeting Tuesday evening to share expenses for the early voting site with the city of Youngsville. Youngsville's council approved a similar resolution during its May 14th meeting. The cities of Youngsville and Broussard would share the estimated $62,000 expense of creating the new voting site, which is normally funded by parish government. After 2 years, the cities would then transfer ongoing expenses estimated at about $40,000 annually to Lafayette Parish. The Lafayette Parish Council is expected to address the proposal at a June meeting. There has been support at the parish level, according to Lafayette Parish Councilman Josh Carlson, who represents the southern portion of the parish. Carlson said the parish has a cash reserve of only about $50,000 and could not fund the creation of a second early voting site without the help from Youngsville and Broussard. He promised both city councils that their generosity wouldn't become a long-term crutch for the parish. Every parish in the state has early voting available at the local Register of Voters office. The downtown Lafayette office has long been the only option for Lafayette Parish voters who wish to cast their ballots ahead of Election Day. The League of Women Voters of Lafayette has long lobbied for the creation of a new early voting site due to concerns about the parish's only early voting location at 1010 Lafayette Street, having limited parking and accessibility for those with disabilities. Espinoza, a geographer by trade, has written to the Lafayette Parish Council on behalf of the League of Women Voters to express concerns about the proposed site on the south side of the parish. The nonpartisan group has suggested opening a second early voting site at the main branch of the Lafayette Public Library downtown. The League is sensitive to the issue of adequate funds, but we feel that the cost associated with securing expanded access to voting is worth the priority in the budget, Espinoza said. We would ask the Lafayette Parish Council to reflect on these priorities ahead of a November election that most likely will be affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Acadia Parish cases spike nearly 150% by Ben Myers. The ongoing outbreak of coronavirus cases in Acadia Parish continued Tuesday, with the state reporting an additional 96 cases. The new cases reported Tuesday exceeded the number of new tests, causing the positive testing rate to shoot past 10%. Many of the new Acadia cases resulted from corrections to case files that had been wrongly coded to neighboring Evangeline Parish, officials said. That erased almost all of the dramatic increase in new cases reported in Evangeline over the past week and worsened an already worrisome trend in Acadia. State officials on May 19 reported that outbreaks among migrant workers living in close quarters at 3 crawfish farms had resulted in 100 new cases. Officials have since declined to provide any updated information on the outbreaks or to identify the facilities. Acadia Parish has recorded 236 new cases since May 14, meaning that parish's total case count has increased 148% in less than 2 weeks. Officials said in a statement the new Acadia cases reported Tuesday are related to outbreaks in work sites in the region. They did not immediately respond to a query as to whether the statement referred to the 3 crawfish farms previously mentioned, or if outbreaks have been identified at other work sites. The 236 new Acadia cases since May 14 have been reported alongside 964 new tests, and the overall positive test rate in Acadia now stands at 10.9%. That is an increase from a 6% positive test rate on May 14. Governor John Bel Edwards, in line with standards set by the World Health Organization and others, has said a positive test rate of 10% or lower is a measure of adequate testing capacity. The statewide positive test rate on Tuesday stood at 11.2%, but that includes earlier periods when far fewer tests were available. The overall positive rate has steadily declined across the state in recent weeks. The positive test rate in the 7-parish Region 4, which includes Acadia Parish and has a population of about 600,000, continued its gradual decline on Tuesday. The Region 4 positive test rate stood at 6.2% on Tuesday, down from more than 7% at the start of the month. No new deaths were reported in the region for the second day in a row. The positive test rate in Lafayette Parish, which is the largest parish in Region 4, has remained between 4.5 to 4.6 over the past 7 days, down slightly from the previous week. The 7-day rolling average in new cases in Lafayette on Tuesday was 10.4, more than double what it was on May 5th. But the positive test rate on that day was higher than on Tuesday. The crawfish farm outbreaks included at least one facility in Lafayette Parish, which may help explain, along with testing backlogs, increases in both the 7-day rolling average in newly reported cases and positive test rates. Administrators are gearing up for virtual summer school by Kate Gagliano. Students requiring remediation over the summer are returning to the classroom in less than 2 weeks. But this year, the Lafayette Parish School System's summer school offerings are going fully online. Registration for summer school closes June 1st, and slots are available in English language arts and math for 6th through 8th grade students, and in math, science, and social studies for 9th through 12th grade students. There are no fees for LPSS students, but the program costs $250 per course for non-public and homeschool students, an LPSS release said. The district will provide Chromebooks and internet access to students without home devices. Virtual learning is a departure for the middle school summer program, L.J. Alleman Middle Assistant Principal Allison Champagne said. The summer school principal said classes are usually taught in person at L.J. Alleman during a morning and afternoon period. This year, all courses will be taught through online learning platform Edgenuity. Students will complete 40 hours of instruction similar to a standard summer school setting. Certified LPSS teachers will provide full classroom support, such as reteaching concepts, helping children problem solve around learning struggles, and measuring student progress, Champagne said. The teachers will be available during open-ended Zoom sessions each class period for students to ask questions and receive one-on-one attention. The meetings will be secured through Clever, a platform that groups online resources for schools, so the students are only engaged with the teachers, she said. In the lead up to summer classes, Champagne is coordinating with Lafayette Online Academy Principal Jared Kuti to adapt existing tenets from their program for the summer school students and lay out student and teacher expectations. One key focus is establishing expectations for students checking in with teachers via Zoom. Engagement will be the biggest hurdle to ensuring student success through online learning, the administrator said. Sorry, I lost my place. It's easy for a teacher to scan a classroom and look around and know when a child is not on task or needs to be redirected or when a child needs extra help. But when you don't have that face-to-face interaction, it's hard, Champagne said. We want them to be successful, to help them remediate whatever skills they're lacking and be prepared for the next grade level. Class sizes will be reduced to between 10 and 15 students per teacher to allow for more individualized instruction. As of Thursday, about 200 middle school students had registered for summer school. The average each year is around 300 students, she said. Once the number of students is confirmed, the district will complete teacher hiring for the session. Kuti and Champagne will lead training on using Edgenuity, Zoom, and Clever in the classroom to make sure educators are up to speed before classes begin June 5th. The online adjustment will be slightly less startling for the high school students and summer school teachers who've used Edgenuity to complete summer school courses in the past, Southside High Assistant Principal Amanda McCaney said. During a typical summer school session, the students would complete work on Edgenuity, but attend an in-person lab session with the LPSS teacher. If the students met a certain performance threshold, they could be allowed to shift to optional lab visits, the summer school principal said. McCaney said she's considering a similar structure for the virtual summer school session, but if it's implemented, it would likely be a teacher-by-teacher decision. Currently, she's planning to make morning check-ins mandatory and require students to log at least 3 hours of work per class day in Ingenuity to ensure steady progress. As with middle school, the high school teachers will be available on Zoom daily. The current plan is for sessions to begin with a group Q&A before the students split off for one-on-one meetings with teachers. The high school teachers will likely have sign-ups for meeting slots. The teachers will be able to monitor each student's progress on assignments and quizzes on the back end of Ingenuity to track performance. If a student needs adjustments or modifications like extra time, options are built into the program. It sounds more complicated than I actually think it will be. I think once we get started, I think it'll run pretty smoothly because the teachers will have control of their rostered students and be able to provide that one-on-one support, McCaney said. McCaney's advice to parents is to help their children establish a stable schedule. The consistency will help their success, especially after the upheaval of the spring semester. She also encouraged parents to feel comfortable contacting their students' teacher or teachers for assistance. We really want to support them in every way that we can. We're going to be very available, she said. Festival of Words host Pieces of Hope virtual open mic on Wednesday, May 27th at 7 p.m., and that would be tonight. The Festival of Words hosts Pieces of Hope virtual open mic on Zoom. For 15 years, the festival has hosted the Grand Coteau-based event featuring writers, musicians, and storytellers. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, the creative community will gather online. Coming together is an act of hope. Come to share or just to listen and enjoy. The 2-hour open mic presents 20 writers and musicians, each performing for 5 minutes. Performers are from Louisiana and throughout the U.S. region. Make yourself a drink, grab some cheese and crackers, and sit back to enjoy some exquisite performances that will soothe, entertain, and enlighten. So to join, go to the Facebook page of Pieces of Hope Virtual Open Mic. The link to the Zoom Cafe will be available today, or contact Martha at FOW Martha. So that would be FOWMARTHA at gmail.com, or call 337-804-2482. 337-804-2482. This free community event is suitable for all ages and is sponsored by the Festival of Words Cultural Arts Collective. Okay, let's get back here. Fire victim to believed to be owner of the home. State Fire Marshal's Office deputies continue to investigate a Sunday night mobile home fire in the Ville, Platte area that left the sole occupant dead. Although the victim is believed to be the 54-year-old woman who owned the home, investigators have not officially identified the victim or the cause of death. Firefighters responded just before 11:30 p.m. Sunday to the mobile home fire in the 5500 block of St. Landry Highway in Bayou Chico near Ville, Platte. They located the body in the home's living room while attempting to put the fire out, but it was too badly burned to identify, according to the fire marshal's office. Investigators determined the fire originated in the living room area, but the exact cause of the fire remains undetermined. The victim's official identification and preliminary cause of death are pending with the Evangeline Parish Coroner's Office. Ville Platte officer on leave after arrest. Eunice police have arrested a Ville Platte officer, according to KATC TV. Connor Atkinson, who is 22 years old, was booked on counts of illegal window tint, no seatbelt, possession of drug paraphernalia, possession of a prescription with an obliterated label, and possession of prescription medication without a prescription. He remains in the St. Landry Parish Jail in lieu of $5,000 bail. Ville Platte Chief Neil Lartigue says Atchison will be on administrative leave while the incident is investigated and disciplinary action is determined. Atchison was arrested after Eunice officer pulled him over. Eunice Chief Randy Fontenot told KATC. The officer said Atchison smelled like marijuana. When the officer asked why he smelled pot, Atchison said he had just smoked some to help him relax, according to police. A search of the vehicle turned up a scale, a grinder, and a bottle of more than 100 prescription pills, which appeared to be promethazine hydrochloride, which is sometimes known as phenergan, police said. The pills have been sent to a lab to verify, Fontenot said. Improvements slated for Foster Park by Megan Wyatt. Foster Memorial Park in Youngsville could get a much-needed makeover in the months ahead as city leaders work to lease the property from the Lafayette Parish government. The 16-acre baseball park is situated on 4th Street in the heart of the community, but it's a far cry from the Youngsville Sports Complex at the edge of the city. Foster Park has a few baseball fields with dugouts and bleachers, batting cages, walking trail, and restroom facilities that have fallen into disrepair in recent years. I could share pictures with you right now of what the facilities look like, Youngsville Councilman Jamie Absher said during a May meeting. I honestly don't let my kids use the facilities because they're deplorable. Upkeep at Foster Park has been a sore subject between elected officials in Youngsville and Lafayette for years. The park is owned by Lafayette Consolidated Government, which has struggled to maintain parks and recreation centers in the city of Lafayette, let alone those in the parish municipalities. Youngsville, on the other hand, has a 1% sales tax dedicated solely to parks and recreation that has been levied since 2013. Even with support from Lafayette Mayor President Joey Durrell and former Youngsville Mayor Wilson Viator, the Lafayette City Parish Council voted down an ordinance in 2013 that would have given ownership of Foster Park to the city of Youngsville. There has been renewed interest in the idea between Youngsville leaders and the new Lafayette Parish Council. The Youngsville City Council approved a resolution during its May 14 meeting to lease the park from the parish government. The Lafayette Parish Council is expected to consider the lease agreement during a June meeting, according to Councilman Josh Carlson, who represents Youngsville residents. I'm glad to see that we're starting to get some movement forward, Carlson said during the Youngsville meeting. You've got my full support, and I'm lobbying my council members for this. I think the majority of them are in support of this. Youngsville would be required to keep Foster Park as an outdoor recreation space, at least through the duration of the original 50-year lease, which expires in 2025. City leaders have discussed the possibility of transforming the baseball park into a more passive downtown green space since the sports complex has updated state-of-the-art baseball fields. Major investment won't likely happen immediately as the city determines what impact the coronavirus shutdown will have on its sales tax revenue and annual budget. With our economic conditions the way they are right now, it's not going to be my recommendation that we spend any significant amount of money at this facility in the near term until we really learn more about what the economy is doing, Youngsville Mayor Ken Ritter said during the council meeting. But we just feel like long-term, it'll be a better asset for the citizens of Youngsville as a community park if we manage that ourselves. A dog park was suggested during the council meeting as an easy, low-cost way to welcome people back to the space before bigger projects begin. The council also discussed long-term plans of connecting the park to nearby neighborhoods and schools through planned sidewalk projects to make Youngsville more walkable and bikeable. They're just happy to be back and out here by Katie Gagliano. Recreation departments and summer camp programs are finding creative ways to bring a healthy dose of summer fun to kids' schedules while also reimagining their offerings to meet new health and safety standards during the coronavirus pandemic. Recreational baseball and softball leagues are firing back up with shortened schedules, reduced contact practices, and restrictions on spectators. The Youngsville Sports Complex welcomed teams back for practices last week, and it's been mostly smooth sailing, Director Tim Robichaud said. They're just happy to be back and out here, he said. The complex serves about 1,500 children across all age groups in its baseball, softball, and t-ball programs. Even as some players have dropped out, children on the waiting list have been calling to fill spots as parents anxiously seek opportunities to get their children out of the house, Robichaud said. To keep the large groups safe, the complex has blocked off bleachers, closed dugouts, instituted one-lane entrances and exits, requested parents bring long chairs to social distance, and mandated one team per field for practices, making use of all 9 baseball fields and 6 soccer fields at staggered times. Staff members also are wearing masks, and hand sanitizer stations have been installed at concession stands and other key areas. Procedures will need to be reviewed or adapted once games begin, but those changes are still being discussed, Robichaud said. Navigating the quick changing rules has been difficult, but leaning on other local and state recreation leaders has made the process workable. The biggest change for everyone has been the shortened season, Lafayette Parks and Recreation Director Gerald Boudreau said. Fewer weeks to play means no postseason with all-star games and Little League World Series tournaments. But getting the kids back on the field for less time is better than not at all. Like the Youngsville Sports Complex, Lafayette Parks and Recreation's 7 neighborhood associations are relaunching their baseball, softball, and soccer programs. The sports leagues are some of the few opportunities that the Recreation Department has been able to relaunch. On Friday, the department announced summer enrichment camps and therapeutic day camps would not take place this year. Some programs are difficult to operate under existing coronavirus safety guidelines, while others may not reopen because of financial restraints caused by reduced tax revenues attributed to the pandemic. Lafayette Consolidated Government is reevaluating operations across departments, and not all offerings may be feasible under a tighter budget. Both men said they're glad to see the kids enjoying themselves through sports again, especially after the upheaval they experienced with the sudden cancellation of school this spring. I think it's really important for kids to get a chance. Recreational sports have a lot of benefits, not only the physical side, but the mental side. And being able to get back out to the game they enjoy playing and get back around others, I think all that has a huge impact on their development, Robichaud said. Kids' mental well-being was the driving force behind Christian Youth Theater Lafayette choosing to forge ahead with in-person theater camps this year, CYT Lafayette Artistic Director Callie Theriot said. When surveying parents about summer options, the overwhelming consensus was that parents wanted an in-person option. They reported their children were feeling sad, depressed, and lonely while deprived of regular social contact with peers, and virtual visits with friends weren't cutting it. When CYT Lafayette organized a parking lot parade for its participants, the smiles, tears, and looks of relief on the instructors and children's faces while seeing one another from a distance made the need for in-person interaction clear. Even if camp needed to look different, it was worth doing. Even though it's going to be challenging and totally different than anything we've ever done, I think the kids and what CYT means to them and what CYT means to their parents matters more than all the hoops that we're going to have to jump through, she said. Camp dates have been pushed back to July to allow families time to settle into the new normal. The delayed schedule also gives CYT Lafayette time to build in fallback location plans. Some venues booked for the previous camp schedule have reached out to say they're now uncomfortable with hosting large groups. Rethinking camp has included where it's held, while Theriot and team thinking about creative solutions like theater in the park opportunities, Theriot said. It won't be the usual freewheeling camp style, but CYT is hoping to maintain a feeling of theater magic. Children and counselors will be assigned to static groups in individual rooms to limit contact. There won't be contact-based games or toy sharing. Kids will have their temperatures checked, and all singing will likely be done outside with the children spread apart. Instead of a final camp showcase each week, a videographer will film the performances and compile a camp film as a keepsake, the director said. CYT Lafayette will also be offering a virtual option for families who aren't comfortable sending their children to camp. The virtual camp will run for the month of July, and participants will enjoy recorded lessons from counselors and possible virtual character meet and greets. Among other activities, the team is still ironing out, Theriot said. Campers will be sent boxes of camp activities and props to make the at-home experience more interactive. And CYT Lafayette is considering the idea of socially distanced meetups so the children can have some level of in-person interaction with counselors and peers. Rethinking the function of everything CYT Lafayette does has been strenuous, but rewarding, the director said. It has been exhausting. I think I've worked longer hours than I did back when everything was normal. It's definitely brought our team closer together because one day you might think you have a plan that will work perfectly, and then the next day something new is released where everything has to change. Allison Brandon at Wonderland Performing Arts said she's going all in on the virtual experience for this year's schedule of summer camps. Wonderland has been offering virtual performances in classes online and through social media since novel coronavirus closures began in March, and the team has grown confident in their ability to provide an accessible, safe, and exciting performing arts experience online, she said. Wonderland has even hosted Zoom productions by working with students through the video conferencing platform to perform and record their 3 spring productions and turn them into films. Brandon said they're planning to take those methods into the summer camp experience. While coordinating camp venues and discussing safety measures, Brandon said it became apparent remaining true to the Wonderland model would be difficult while keeping everyone safe in person. To do both and avoid compromising the camp experience, Brandon decided to take things online. Campers will be able to sign up for a variety of classes from dance, art, music, and theater, including special guest spots from Broadway stars, including Desi Oakley, Blaine Krause, and Christina Alabato. The online classes will be supplemented with mailed class boxes with items to give things for the classes a more tangible quality. In a typical summer, Wonderland serves between 100 to 150 children through 5 one-week camps and an end-of-summer musical. It's unclear how many children will migrate to the virtual platform, but Brandon said so far the reaction has been positive. She's going to see what happens. One staff member, who's also a mother, told Brandon she struggled with denying her children recreational opportunities while taking health precautions, and said the virtual camp will provide kids chances for fun while easing tensions. Thank you so much for not making me the bad guy. You're making it easier on parents to tell their kids we have to stay home a little bit longer, Brandon recalled the woman saying. Brandon said throwing in the towel for summer camp was never an option because ensuring creative outlets for children is too important. Creativity is important. Kids learn so much from the arts. They learn that if they have an idea, they can make it a reality. They learn discipline. They learn self-respect. They learn respect for others and teamwork, eye contact, and how to use their voice. There's so many valuable skills that come from performing. AOC teams up with United Way of Acadiana for Learn United. The United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local educational groups for Learn United, bridging the digital gap to provide educational resources for households that don't have internet but do have a television. The Learn United programs air weekdays from 8 to 2 on AOC 2, Cox 16, LUS 4, and streaming at aocinc.org/watch. That's aocinc.org/watch. For the daily schedules and to submit contact for the program, visit the United Way of Acadiana website, unitedwayofacadiana.org/learn-united. Vitalant is seeking plasma donations from recovered COVID patients. In early April, Vitalant, the nation's largest independent nonprofit blood service provider, launched a program in collaboration with hospital partners, the Mayo Clinic and the American Red Cross, to treat COVID-19 patients with convalescent plasma. The Food and Drug Administration has identified and approved convalescent plasma treatment as an emergency investigational new drug. It is currently the only antibody treatment available to COVID-19 patients, and as such is a promising new treatment option. Currently, there are no vaccines or proven treatments for COVID-19 because the virus is so new. Although trials for a vaccine are underway, it is expected to be many months before one is approved. Donating convalescent plasma holds the additional promise of helping a critically ill COVID-19 patient turn the corner, said Cliff Newmark, Vitalan's chief of marketing. Vitalant is seeking convalescent plasma donors to help patients. Eligibility criteria are: 1, prior diagnosis of COVID-19 documented by a laboratory test or a positive serological test for the SARS-CoV-2 antibodies taken after recovery. Number 2, complete resolution of symptoms for at least 14 days. And last, meet all other current FDA donor eligibility requirements to donate plasma. Even with these requirements, there may be additional tests or other criteria required. In some instances, those who have recovered from COVID-19 may be able to donate, even if they did not have an initial laboratory test. Those who meet the above criteria and want to donate plasma are encouraged to apply through the Vitalant website, vitalant.org/COVID-free. For more information, call 866-287-5762. That's 866-287-5762. Daycares struggling to get teachers back, by Will Sentel. State officials said Tuesday that daycare centers already reeling because of the coronavirus pandemic face a new challenge: how to lure teachers who make an average of $8.95 per hour to return to the classroom and give up on employment benefits that have more than doubled their pay. Jessica Bangian, Assistant State Superintendent of Education, said the health crisis has shined a spotlight on the untenable level of payment for those who work in centers that largely care for infants and children up to age 5. The dismissal pay for teachers in daycare centers, though little known outside of education circles, has sparked concerns previously. But the issue is getting renewed attention now that the pandemic has forced the closing of 70% of Louisiana's roughly 1,400 early learning centers and left hundreds of teachers out of work. Libby Saunier, Executive Director of the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children, said during a meeting of a state advisory panel that the combination of state and federal unemployment benefits means some of those teachers are collecting about $20 an hour, more than double their teacher pay. The state pays up to $247 per week for unemployment aid, with the federal government adding another $600 per week from the $2 trillion recovery legislation approved by Congress. The payments, which are set to expire in late July, have sparked a national debate on whether the federal assistance is so generous that it will delay the restart of the economy because lots of workers are collecting well above what they are used to. It's really concerning, Saunier said. The issue surfaced during a virtual meeting of the Education Subcommittee of the Resilient Louisiana Commission. The commission is an 18-member panel providing advice to Governor John Bel Edwards on how to reopen the economy. Bajian said some child care providers are discussing offering teachers bonuses to narrow any gap for teachers who give up their unemployment benefits to return to the classroom. But a survey by Saunier's group released early this month said providers have lost $30 million amid the pandemic, largely because moms and dads forced to stay home have opted to keep their children with them. Daycare operators also say they need an average of $23,000 to reopen. Most of the 30% or so of centers that remain open are caring for the children of essential workers who qualify for special state assistance because of the health emergency, and that's about 5,600 children. Advocates have said they need $71 million to restart the state's network of early learning centers. Where that would come from is unclear. The state's allocation of federal pandemic aid includes $50 million for public schools, daycare, or higher education, all at the discretion of Edwards. That is an important lever in all of this, Bajian said. Surveys have shown that up to 3 in 10 childcare centers statewide may remain closed permanently, depending on how long families stay home or operate under new work habits. Sonia said today's $12,000 per year price tag for infant care would rise to $16,000 annually because of smaller enrollments. What we hear loud and clear from providers is to not make their fees so outlandish that the parents can't afford it, she said. It is something to think about. Alan Young, who operates a child care center in Shreveport, said if lots of centers remain closed, child care expenses could balloon. The cost of services are going to go through the roof, Young said. It will make affordable price and high quality early childhood education unattainable for most of our vulnerable children. That is the last thing we need to happen. Bajian said there was a significant uptick in the number of centers that reopened when Edwards announced the initial round of loosened work and other restrictions, which took effect on May 16. I am optimistic further about the number we will get to in phase 2, she said. The governor is expected to announce next week whether the state will resume more work, recreation, and other activities effective June 5th. Edwards earlier proposed a $25 million boost in state aid for early childhood education. It would have allowed about 4,000 children to qualify for a state program that helps defray costs of care while parents work, undergo job training, or attend school. The 2020 legislature, the House okays governor's budget plan by Sam Carlin. The Louisiana House on Tuesday swiftly approved state budget bills that use more than $1 billion in federal coronavirus aid to plug holes left by severely depressed tax collections, with Republican legislators finding broad agreement with Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards on the spending plans. Unlike the marathon hearings typically seen when the full House takes up the $30 billion plus state budget, as well as the $5 billion in budgets for the legislature, judiciary, and other state expenses, lawmakers made few changes to what Edwards' administration proposed. The budget prompted little debate, and legislators raced through the spending plans Tuesday afternoon. The plans, which now go to the Senate, call for using $991 million in federal aid to fill holes in the budgets. That includes $429 million in the current fiscal year and $562 million in the upcoming budget year. Plus, Congress sent Louisiana about $190 million in coronavirus aid for the state Medicaid program, freeing up more money. In all, the spending plans alleviate many of the worries about the pandemic's impact on state finances, at least this year. Overall, the plan balances the need for reductions while also maximizing the use of federal recovery dollars, said House Appropriations Chairman Jerome Z. Zarang, a Republican from Homa. Still, erased from the budget plans are ideas to boost funding to K-12 schools, teacher pay, colleges, and early childhood education. Before the outbreak hit Louisiana, lawmakers were widely planning on having millions more to spend on services. Under the new plan, there are modest cuts, including $21 million from higher education. The state is relying on a one-time influx of federal money to resolve what would otherwise be a state budget crisis. State economists revised the revenue outlook for the state downward by nearly $1 billion for the upcoming fiscal year, largely because of cratering oil prices and sales tax collections that are expected to be sluggish as businesses contend with a virus that has made many people wary of going out. But state leaders are using broad flexibility granted by the U.S. Treasury Department in crafting the budget. For instance, the plans use $290 million in federal dollars to fund the state's corrections department because the feds told state officials they can assume payroll expenses for public safety qualify as coronavirus-related spending. Economists are projecting revenues will rebound by about $700 million next year, but not all are convinced. State Representative Lance Harris, an Alexandria Republican, asked the governor's administration to plan for possible cuts in case the budget outlook worsens in the middle of this fiscal year. If tax collections don't rebound next year, the state could be left with a sizable budget shortfall and without aid from the feds. The various bills cover the state operating budget, the legislature, and the judiciary and cost more than $35 billion. About $19 billion of that comes from taxes, fees, royalties, and other collections to state government. The rest comes from the federal government. While the budget proposals sparked little debate, another pot of federal money was a different story. Congress sent Louisiana $1.8 billion in aid for the state and local governments, and the GOP-led legislature has taken aim at the governor's plans for $811 million of that. Edwards' administration is moving forward with plans to deliver at least some of that funding to local governments, but lawmakers are pushing legislation to set up a grant program for businesses. That program would set aside $200 million of the money for grants to businesses and send the rest to local governments. Commissioner of Administration Jay Dardine, Edwards' chief budget officer, has already set up a process for local governments to apply for the funding and argues the change would delay the funding to locals whose budgets have been hammered by reduced tax collections. So this day in history, today is Wednesday, May 27th, the 148th day of 2020. There are 218 days left in the year. In today's highlighted history, on May 27, 1935, the U.S. Supreme Court in Schechter Poultry Corporation versus United States unanimously struck down the National Industrial Recovery Act, a key component of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal legislative program. On this date in 1199, King John of England was crowned in Westminster Abbey nearly 2 months after the death of his brother, Richard I, the Lion-Hearted. In 1861, Chief Justice Roger Taney, sitting as a federal circuit court judge in Baltimore, ruled that President Abraham Lincoln lacked the authority to suspend the writ of habeas corpus, which Lincoln disregarded, the ruling. In 1896, 255 people were killed when a tornado struck St. Louis, Missouri, and East St. Louis, Illinois. In 1912, author John Cheever was born in Quincy, Massachusetts. In 1933, the Chicago's World Fair, celebrating a century of progress, officially opened. Walt Disney's Academy Award-winning animated short, The Three Little Pigs, was first released. In 1941, the British Royal Navy sank the German battleship Bismarck off France with the loss of some 2,000 lives. 3 days after the Bismarck sank the HMS Hood with loss of more than 1,400 lives. In 1942, Doris Dory Miller, a cook aboard the USS West Virginia, became the first African-American to receive the Navy Cross for displaying extraordinary courage and disregard for his own personal safety during Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor. In 1995, actor Christopher Reeve was left paralyzed when he was thrown from his horse during a jumping event in Charlottesville, Virginia. In 1998, Michael Fortier, the government star witness in the Oklahoma City bombing case, was sentenced to 12 years in prison after apologizing for not warning anyone about the deadly plot. 10 years ago, on the defensive, more than 5 weeks into the nation's worst ever oil spill, President Barack Obama insisted his administration, not oil giant BP, was calling the shots in the still unsuccessful response. 1 year ago, meeting in Japan with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, President Donald Trump said he was personally not bothered by North Korea's recent short-range missile tests, which had rattled Japan. Former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger is 97. Cannot believe that. FBI Director William Sessions is 90. Actress Lee Merriweather is 85. Actor Louis Gossett Jr. is 84. Todd Bridges is 55. Rock musician Sean Kinney of Alice in Chains is 54. Our thought for today: great wisdom is generous. Petty wisdom is contentious. Great speech is impassioned. Small speech cantankerous. This is from Shuangzi, Chinese essayist who lived from 369 to 286 BC. Quite amazing. And we're going to leave off here, sort of start wrapping up with our zodiac for today. Let's get in it. Listen carefully. You never know. You might get some good advice. Gemini. Minimize your spending and maximize your time and effort. Your track record will be your calling card when you want to expand your business prospects as well as your friendships. Cancer. A monetary, legal, or medical change will cause uncertainty. Consider all the alternatives before you jump into something unfamiliar. Stick to the rules and avoid problems with authority figures. Leo. Someone will withhold valuable information or mislead you purposefully. Do your research and leave nothing to chance. Trust no one with your personal information or passwords. Ooh. Virgo. Read between the lines. What someone tells you will differ from the facts. Distance yourself from others and research your options thoroughly. Distance yourself from others. I think that's good for all of us right now. Libra. Follow the path that you choose, not the path that someone else tries to persuade you to take. Being true to yourself will lead to success and happiness. Scorpio. Don't mix money and emotions. That's thunder out there. I hear it. Scorpio, don't mix money and emotions. You cannot buy love or trust someone who tempts you with something that isn't in your best interest. Sagittarius, consider the consequences before you decide to get involved in someone's tempting adventure. Trust the people closest to you and beware of outsiders trying to take advantage. Capricorn, an emotional matter will escalate if you act abruptly. Try to assess a situation before you make a decision that can put a wedge in a meaningful relationship. Aquarius, make a positive change at home that will add to your entertainment, comfort, or convenience. If you share your plan with loved ones, you'll get help executing your project. Pisces, you'll be confused when dealing with friends, relatives, or loved ones due to conflicting signals you receive. When in doubt, ask questions. Get the facts and reassess your next move. Aries, educate yourself before you sign up to take part in something unfamiliar. Don't promise too much or overreact to what others do. Work diligently at your own speed until you reach your goal. Taurus, uncertainty will cloud your vision. Call on experience to help guide you through sensitive situations that call for diplomacy, compassion, and understanding. How you react will determine the outcome. Just keep in mind today that the horoscope is an entertainment feature and is not based in scientific fact. So keeping calm through the COVID hotline. If you are feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear, and/or anxiety about the uncertainty surrounding this public health emergency, there is a special Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline you can call. This connects you to trained, compassionate counselors who can offer support and who can direct you to mental health and substance abuse counseling services. Trained counselors are available 24/7 and all calls are confidential. So if you're having some trouble right now or in the next coming days, call 866-310-7977. That's 866-310-7977. Medicaid Resources. If you have lost your job or if you have reduced hours, you may be eligible for Medicaid. You can apply online at mymedicaid.la.gov. You can also apply by phone by calling 888-342-6207 or by mail by sending information to Louisiana Medicaid, Post Office, Box 91283, Baton Rouge 70821. Local Medicaid offices are currently closed to the public, but if you need additional assistance, you can also call 888-342-6207. 6207. Stop the spread, call instead. For the latest COVID-19 updates and information, visit www.311lafayette.services. Call centers with volunteers and medical professionals are active 24/7 to answer your questions about COVID-19 and determine if you need to get screened. You may also call 311 and press option 2 if you are a business owner, employee, or are looking for a job to get information about applying for small business recovery loans, apply for unemployment benefits, and related programs. Individuals whose hours are being reduced at work or who have been laid off from employment may qualify for unemployment insurance benefits. If you're attempting to apply for unemployment insurance and are not able to access an existing online account or need help resetting your password, call Lafayette's Acadiana Workforce Solutions Office at 337-262-5601. That's 337-262-5601. Due to high call volume, some calls may not be answered immediately. Call again at a later time or contact one of Louisiana's other local offices for assistance. You can go to www.laworks.net and you would look for downloads for contacts. In addition to unemployment insurance benefits, individuals looking for supplemental income can consider local employment opportunities with businesses who are seeking temporary, part-time, and full-time workers by visiting the COVID-19 Help Wanted resource page at lafayette.org Help Wanted or LEDA's virtual job fair page with local businesses seeking to hire local candidates for full-time employment opportunities at www.lafayette.org/jobs. So that's all we've got for today. It is May 27th, 2020. Hard to believe. We're almost at the end of May and summer is approaching. I hear a little thunder out there. Matt, are you here? Did you hear the thunder on your end of the line?
I did hear the thunder. I've been listening to the thunder as I've been listening to the newscasts and walking through my garden.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's all we got for today.
Well, thanks so much for reading today, Danon. We really appreciate it, getting the news out there in audio format, and we will disconnect from the stations now. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.